webcasting to the world.
Do you remember the moment that you saw yourself in God and God in you, and you were one with the universe and God and everybody?
Knowing the truth about the gospel.
You were one with the prostitutes and pimps and priests and kings, and there was nobody on earth that was better than you nor less than you.
That we are all righteous.
And no one on earth was any less in Christ than anyone else.
That's Mike Williams, and this is the Gospel Revolution.
Hello, this is Daniel Rouse. Would you welcome with me again the founder and president of the Gospel Revolution, Michael Lilborn Williams.
Hello, Thomas Daniel Rouse. Daniel. Hi.
Hi, Lilborn Williams, Michael Lilborn.
We're off to one of those days, I see. Yes, hi, and hello to all of our Gospel Revolutionaries. Goodness, we've been a talking and reading and a studying and communicating, and brand new website's gone up. I think we're going to refrain from announcing about that just yet until next week, because it still needs a little bit more structure to it. Daniel has created this site for us, and it is it's very exciting, to say the least. Oh my gosh, is it ever exciting? So, but we'll let you know exactly the website and where you can find it, and what you're going to find when you get there.
Yeah, we're being kind of sneaky, Michael.
We are.
We are going to sneak into people's lives with a message that they don't even know is the gospel.
I know. And so this place is going to be stripped pretty much of any biblical or spiritual language. And the reason we're doing that is because we want people to realize that Paul's teaching was real, that physics and Psalms is real. Physics tells you about God. Physics tells you about the Creator, to say it directly. It tells you about how things were, that the things that were created are so fantastic. They were so fantastic that people started worshiping the creation more than the Creator. That's how fantastic they are. But still, thanks for playing. We have some people now, it's called philosophical, theoretical physics, that they are worshiping and praising the creation more than the Creator. In fact, they deny there is one. This creation has so fascinated them that they have declared there is no Creator. And that's all because of one misstep. And we're going to be going into that for the next, as long as I'm living. Daniel, you'll probably be talking about this till you take your last breaths, 80-something years from now. Right?
Yikes.
Yikes.
That'll put me... well, if I'm going to be 120, I guess I have to.
Gosh, I guess you have to. There's just no other way around it. But yes, so this is a wonderful time. Goodness gracious, I'm here in my 70s and having the time of my life. I mean, my goodness, it's. I was talking to Robert May this morning, and gosh, what I could just share with you what he was telling me. But the amazing things, and of course, he's listening to the shows, and then suddenly he goes into another whole world. And he comes back from that world telling me what he saw. And it's just fantastic. Everybody's having these amazing experiences of insights. And I get to talk to some of you, but none of it's just minor stuff. And then we have some people saying, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So all are welcome. And we're going to have plenty of gospel. And someday the two are going to click together. So we are still doing the primary thing. It's the only thing we're doing is sharing the gospel. The only reason we're sharing the physics is because just pretty damn tired of people saying that physics proves there is no God.
Mm.
That is not true. Physics does just the opposite to that, according to Paul and according to Psalms. And that psalm was written about 3,000 years ago and tells us exactly how physics works, how cosmology works, how the planets work, how the sun works. And now people come along and said, now we've learned so much that we can now prove there is no God.
Mm.
So we feel pretty comfortable that the truth is on our side here. So
yeah, I mentioned last week that something is happening in the gospel revolution. And unlike back in my Word of Faith days, I know what that something is.
yeah.
That something is we're understanding. We have a message, we have a language that we are developing and we're becoming better orators of as we develop this understanding. And such as this new website to be announced is going to do, is it's going to speak this language. And as we're doing this, Michael, it's bigger than you and me. It's bigger than you, me, Jackie, and Audrey. It's bigger than it's really bigger than all the gospel revolutionaries we have.
All of us.
We are tasked with a language that is huge. And during our summer pledge drive, we need help.
Yeah.
We really do need help, and because it is bigger than us. And the task that's set before us is very large, and we're ready for it. But we know we can't do it alone. And if you find great value in what is happening and what is going on, we'd ask that you would invest into this. And we're ready to do the work, but we need a little motivation and we need a little help to get the job done.
We have vastly more to do with quite a bit lower funds than what we've had in the past. A lot of that just by attrition. We've had some wonderful GRs that have passed away, and some of them that have, just by reason the fact that they're no longer here. And I've had phone calls from them telling me that they knew that they were dying and let me know with sorrow in their hearts that that's the thing. One of the things they hate the most is that they were not going to have the funds. Of course, any funds they had coming in would cease anyway. And but they weren't going to be able to continue supporting the ministry. So that's quite amazing when somebody is facing death. And one of the first thoughts that comes to them is they're not going to get to support the gospel anymore. So we deeply respect that. And I know you guys too. And we really honor and respect everybody that does anything. There's some of you out there that I want you to know that you may not, because of just staffing, you may not hear from us. But I do see everything that comes in. It goes before my eyes because of the way the system is set up. So I do see that. And there's some of you who have been doing this for so many decades. And some of them, it's $10, it's $15, it's $50. And but the issue is that you're so consistent that we know that this is something that is on your heart, and we really value that just as much as any. So, but we do need some help. We have fallen behind, like I said, just due to attrition, and we need some folks to step up. We know it's going to happen. We just don't know how long we have to wait, and we don't know if if there's GRs that are out there who are currently giving, but you could do more without impairing your lifestyle nor the future that you have planned out for your family. We also want to encourage you to plan out your future in the fact that we are now, all of us, goodness, there's so many of us that have been in this together. When you're planning out your estate, put Gospel Revolution in there. It may cause you to be able to give more money to your family if part of it goes as a contribution to Mike Williams Ministries, because it is a federal and state exempt, tax exempt organization. So it could actually help. You could actually end up being able to disperse more funds to your family by donating some of it to the ministry to keep it going. So that's all we're going to say about the pledge drive today. Thank you guys for what you're doing and helping us get through.
And if you want to know how you can take part, you can go to gospelrevolution.com, hit the donate button, or you can call Michael at
832-318-9339.
And on behalf of not only us here at the GR, but also those in future generations, thank you for your contribution and your investment into this wonderful world that we live in.
Yes.
For review's sake, Michael, goodness, there's 1,000 things we could review.
Yeah.
But one of the things that captivated and has been captivating my imagination here for the past few days is this understanding that we brought out in the last show a little bit about how during creation, we have on day one, God said, "Let there be light."
Mm-hmm.
And I've always had that question in the back of my mind, and it wasn't until here just a couple weeks ago that it really got a great picture of it, is what was going on with light and what was light doing until the sun was created? If light was created on day one, what in the world was it? Because we know that the sunshine didn't come until day 4. And then watching as creation and this the creation of the sun and the development of all that and how that affected light in our solar system, quite amazing.
Well, Daniel, you talk like you think I was around watching this take place or something. How old do you think I am?
Weren't you?
Well, actually, in another teaching, yes, I were, you were, we all were, but we won't get into that right now. But so the only thing that we can really share with you, we're still letting this story put itself together. We're having to resist putting it together because it is tempting because it's such a beautiful story. But we would rather the story tell itself than us try to tell it. So what the story tells us is what we know, and that is that that God created light and did not create the sun until the 4th day. Now you say, well, was light visible? It says darkness was on the face of the deep, and and Christ, literally the way the Hebrew scriptures lay this out, we actually know that was Christ, not just spirit, but Christ was hovering. Without him was not anything created that was created. We weren't surprised, but we were surprised that his name is actually there in that verse itself. The name Christ is there, which was stripped out and more than 7,000 times. And we came up with a name that doesn't mean anything. I hate to burst your bubble. We're probably going to do something a little bit more direct about this, but all these years we've been singing this song. Oh, Jesus, Jesus. There's just something about that name. I've caught myself walking around the house after I've understood where that name come from, and that it was gladly received by the Jews because that took the Jewishness of the Christ away. And the Catholics who came up with this name were very glad to invite the name Jesus in because it kind of whiteified the Christ. And I began to realize all these years we've been singing this song, oh, Jesus, Jesus, there's just something about that name, when actually there is nothing about that name.
Yeah.
And I am going to begin to remove that name from my vocabulary. I'm not putting that on anybody else. but I've just learned too much about it and the name. And you say, well, you're going to start calling him Josh or Joshua or Yeshua. Well, any of those are far more accurate than anything that Jesus said. And I don't think that it means son of Zeus either. I've gone down all that. And there is the people who want to prove that that name is not the right one have tried to say that this means son of Zeus. If you put right hand on red, left hand on yellow, you could say that, but we're not into that. But we're just telling you that was never his name. There was never anybody on the earth named Jesus at the time of Christ. That name did not exist. And so I'm not sure why it should exist now. It seems to be that the name Jesus is supportive of Christianity, which is supportive of legalism, which is supportive of a very combative Christianity, which is in support of taking and stripping people's identity and having no respect for people who are different. I'm not a part of that. And I know that Christ is not a part of that. And I know Yeshua is not a part of that. So I don't mean to offend anybody, but if we grew up thinking that there is just something, I mean, we wept at that name and cried and Jesus, 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 Jesus. And I know our intent and I know what we meant. I meant the same thing. I had the same passions and intents. But when you find out you're wrong, you find out you're wrong. Mm. So I was wrong. I am not telling anybody else to take this path. When I stopped confessing sins, I didn't tell anybody, okay, now everybody fall in line, stop confessing sin. People said to me, but Mike, I feel like I have to. I said, I'm all my heart, I'm encouraging you to confess your sins. When prayer ceased to be any type of petition to God for something, ceased to be. I said, this is me. I'm not telling you. And I had people say, Mike, I just feel like I just got the prayer. I'm your number one fan. Please go ahead. Keep worship and praise. Please go ahead. I am not the one who's setting the pace for what is to be done and not done. Now that we understand the gospel, I can only tell you, I don't worry. I'm not telling you not to worry. Go right ahead. Worry all you want to. There's many things that I don't do, but it's not a requirement for you as you're learning the gospel to do, to show that you really believe the gospel. Me beginning to extricate this name, Jesus, out of my vocabulary is a part of my honoring what Christ did. I am honoring also his Jewishness, which is a part of, an integral part of identifying what he did is by his Jewishness. So I'm not happy with the Jews who were happy with the name Christ. You know, they were very happy they named Jesus. Neither am I happy with the Catholics who were happy to make Christ no longer a Jew themselves. They didn't want a Jewish savior by that time in world history. Get it? They didn't want a Jewish savior, so they named him Jesus. So I don't need to change his name. You say, well, you're changing his name just because the Bible recorded that. What we're doing is finding the ontology of where it all went wrong about the name. The name never was Jesus. Never was it. Christ never heard that name in his ears. And if you think he hears you, you might better start using a name he's familiar with. So, if you're going to be praying, you might better use the one that he knows, because I'll guarantee you, other than the fact that he knows everything, as a personal identity, Christ does not know the name Jesus. Mm. I've already said too much.
I watched a little video just last night. It said, what happens when a Christian prays over their food? and they have a Christian sitting before their food, and they said, "Jesus, we want to thank you for this food." And all of a sudden, the video cuts to a Mexican running through a farm, and he says, "You're welcome. And by the way, it's pronounced Jesus."
I love that. Yeah, you're just pronouncing it wrong. And then, of course, we have the taboo about naming someone, that the Jesus. And then we have a whole culture that they name all of their children Jesus. You're just pronouncing it wrong. It's still Jesus is Jesus. So anyway, that's just where I'm at in my progression. If you learn something and you realize that where you are is not where you thought you were, and everything about you addresses terminology that does not describe where you are or what you're doing, it's best to change the terminology. That more closely associates with where you are, what you're doing, and who you are. And the name Jesus does not identify anything about who I am, where I am, what I'm doing, what I'm teaching and sharing with the world. It never had anything to do with somebody by the name of Jesus.
That's good preaching. So what are you going to replace it with?
We'll just be saying Christ. I'm not going to be able to switch overnight. I'm going to slip up and say Jesus, and that doesn't mean I've fallen under a curse or, I'm not the language police. We're not going to tell you that if you really believe the gospel, you'll stop using that name that was orchestrated by heathens, and you will just stop doing that. Well, we're not going to do that. But we do like preaching that way. It's kind of fun.
I just love how you get Tennessean when you're.
It's inevitable. I don't know what happens.
Okay, so you were saying that Christ was present at this time of the creation.
Yes, as before I deflected the light. So the light of the world, we can call him that, right? He is the light of the world. We are now the light of the world because of this incredible thing. And you're not the Jesus of the world. We are the body of Christ. We're not the body. We're not the body of Jesus. And that just being able to realize that name has nothing to do with you being the body of Christ is tremendous in being able to expand our understanding of the universality of the Christ. Now, Catholics teach the universality of Christ, but it's universal if you're a Catholic around the world. But you got to be one of them before you can be a part of the body of Christ, and you got to have the cracker and the juice. But they were the ones who brought in the name, Now, will we ever know why they did it? There's probably ways of finding out, but hey, they were wrong. That's good enough for me. I know what it did, and it distracts from the truth about the name. So here we have a light. God said, "Let there be light." And we know that on the fourth day, he created the luminaries. Now, what you have is the sun, and you have light, and you have structure. Now, at what point all of this aligned to being one thing, it's still trying to form in my own mind, and then with some of you already made up your mind about it. And I have guiding thoughts that I think, but I'm still not sure about. But what we do have, at least on the fourth day, we have that light, and we have its illumination. So light does nothing unless it has something to interact with called an electromagnetic field. I'm learning that more and more as we go along, is that if light does not have a very specific electromagnetic field, it can't be a radio wave, it can't be a microwave. There's 7 different forms of waves, but there's only one that light interacts with. And it is denser. It doesn't go through walls. It doesn't do those things like radio waves and microwaves. But it is a part of the electromagnetic field. It just contains a density and a structure that accommodates light. And light is attracted to and light interacts with. We've already told you light does not travel. Light appears where it interacts, and that is at source and at interaction. That's why it's dark in space. That's why there's no heat in space. Because the electromagnetic field that light interacts with, it has to be there for light to be there. So there is no light in space, not because light doesn't exist, because the electromagnetic field does not exist to interact with it. There are electromagnetic fields that spread throughout space, but they are radio waves, microwaves, and different things like that, which even here on Earth, they do not interact with. So unless there's this, and we're just learning more and more about this, physics got this so confused, they call everything light. They call a microwave light. They call a radio wave light. They call every EM field light. And they call it light because they stumble over themselves unless they get to throw a blanket over everything and just call all of it light. They call it light that is there and light that's not there. I mean, it gets comical. And then it becomes, well, I looked at it and I see a particle. Well, I just looked at it and I saw a wave. Well, the observer creates reality. So we're letting you know that your observation does not create reality. It's just that different observers from different angles see different things. That does not create the reality. The simplicity of this is profound, but you can get as complex as you want to be with it. It's quite an amazing thing. But what we know is that on the fourth day, light came face to face with the electromagnetic field. That's what we call sunshine, the sun. So within the confines of what we see as the sun, we have light and we have electromagnetic field. The light is at the very center of the sun, and the electromagnetic field is all around that. Now, I hesitate as to what to share, when, where, how, but all of this is going to be put up on the website soon. And I think there's parts of this that are so interesting and so obvious once they come out of your mouth. So we see what science has tried to say is that from the surface of the sun, it gets hotter and hotter and hotter until you get the hot hell in the middle, right? But what the math and the structure tells us, by accepting that light does not travel and accepting that light interacts with magnetic field, and the denser the magnetic field is, you have to have a certain amount of electromagnetic field that is designed a certain way for light to interact with. Now, when that starts at the sun, that's where you see the surface fire. That's where the interaction between light and structure is right at the point where it bursts into flames. It's just like taking a match and putting it to something. Everything has to chemically line up just right for that ignition to take place. So the surface of the sun is obviously what we would say is ignition. We will be refining these terms as we go. But what the math, Daniel, the thing the math tells us is that the electromagnetic field continues to intensify. This is known by everybody, not just by us. But it intensifies as it goes toward the center. Now, if you know that light interacts with magnetic field and magnetic field determines light, you'd understand that once that the electromagnetic field gets so dense, it does not interact with light. So from that point, it's like the temperature grows and grows and grows and grows until it comes to this point where according to the math, it drops, and it does not just drop precipitously. It drops to 0 degrees Kelvin. Now, Kelvin is a measurement of temperature that scientists are able to determine that's absolute zero. So absolute zero in our Fahrenheit is just under 500 degrees below zero.
Ooh, I thought it was cold in Wisconsin.
Tell you what, just wait till you get to the center of the sun. So there's several ironies of this. Dante's Inferno does exactly that. The very center of Dante's Inferno is frozen.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I don't know where he came up with this from, but you're not going to hear any physicists tell you what we're talking about right now. But light, in its complete, stable, and unintegrated, unencountered state, is absolute 0 Kelvin. And the numbers that at the known numbers lead you to this point and lead to this reality. If you understand that light interacts with a electromagnetic field, and the numbers turn out, suddenly the center of the sun turns to 0 Kelvin. So while they know 0 Kelvin is a number, they know of nowhere that it exists. They are trying to reach 0 Kelvin is a scientific pursuit. Think about this just a moment. What if this is true? I want you to think of tornadoes, the things that cause interaction between cold and heat. You get this. I mean, you can look at the sun and see these tornadoes coming across hurricanes bigger than the planet Earth. And we know that is created on Earth. I'm not telling you that I know the physics of the sun, but I can tell you that what we see, we've seen before. Even the tornadoes that come out in forest fires, that's not there just because of the heat. It's there because of the heat interacting with the cold. That's why those tornado fires spin up. They're not just fire. If it was just fire, there would be nothing to spin them up, right? So we see this contradiction happening on the face of the sun. But just think about it. What we know scientifically exists from what we're able to conclude based on values that we look at that they don't look at, because they think that light travels instead of light is simply interacting with its environment, whatever that environment is, and especially electromagnetic field. And they know that that's what is so dense around the sun is the electromagnetic field. That the very center of the sun is the coldest place, not in just the solar system, but in the universe. But absolute 0 is absolute peace. Absolute 0 is absolute presence. Absolute 0 is absolute. Now, the other quinky-dink about this is that one of the hottest places, I haven't looked into this yet, but here, the odd thing about it is that we would find the coldest spot in the universe at the center of the sun, and the hottest spot in our solar system is probably the center of our Earth. So upside down, yeah, but maybe upside down is like the gospel. It's right side up when you look at it the right way. Folks, all of this aligns with what we understand about the gospel. And these contradictions are powerful inner workings instead of just contradictions as what we thought. So this is light, and that light we still can project is still at the center of the sun, not in the form of heat. You have the electromagnetic field coming face to face with light. So it is a face-to-face experience.
Mm.
And then, so you've got light standing there having a face-to-face experience, no interaction, just face-to-face. But the way the picture is drawn out mathematically is that it's like a person standing face-to-face with a person. And the one that's standing face-to-face, there's the light, which is the ever-presence. But then the one standing there is the other one is the electromagnetic field, which right past its face begins to drop off to the point where it can interact with the light. So if you go just past your face, you've got things like your eyes, the inner workings of the eyes. You've got your mind, the soul. So instead of the face, it becomes the inner workings with the very brain and mind and soul of the conscious person. But then you have the electromagnetic field that drops so precipitously then behind that, going out toward the surface of the sun. That magnetic field continues in doses that light cannot interact with it at all. It continues across the solar system for 13.5 billion miles. And it is not seen as light because it's no longer a thick enough electromagnetic field until it gets to almost 13 billion miles out and further. And suddenly it begins to turn up like the slope up a side of a volcano. Now, the Voyager 1 and Voyager 2 has just gone through this area. It is a complete shock to scientists. They would have believed us more if we'd have told them that it was 0 degrees Kelvin at the center of sun than to say that you would find 50,000 degrees Kelvin at the edge of our solar system. Because what current physics says is that this is a dying solar system, and the further out you go, the colder and deader it gets. So they just expected Voyager, which has been flying since 1977, and then Voyager 2, which went up sometime after that. They've both crossed this field. They've both experienced these temperatures. But you say, well, how could they get through that without burning up themselves? Because they're not a part of that electromagnetic field. Those vessels have their own electromagnetic field. So they pass through it just like your electricity is running through your walls, through your body. Microwaves can pass right through you. So these crafts went right through this electromagnetic field as though it was not there, but the temperatures spiked. Now, it wasn't fire. They call it a wall of fire because how do you describe something that is 50,000 degrees Kelvin? Now, 50,000 degrees Kelvin is probably 60,000 or so around Celsius, if I'm getting this right. They are close enough to give you a presence of mind about it, although who can imagine 50,000 degrees Celsius? Mm-hmm. But that is 13.5 billion miles from the sun. Mm. So they found what they knew was not there. They found heat. That heat is from the light of the sun. How did it get there? Because light is ever present whenever it has something to encounter. That is light's last encounter in this solar system. And it is sealed. And not only does that wall organize everything within our solar system and every planet, everything that's here. So all those things you heard, oh man, there's things out in the interstellar that is bigger than our sun. It could come flying at us any day and just bam, we'd be gone. Not possible. We have a wall around us created by our own sun that would be able to deflect, even though it allows things out, it doesn't allow anything in. It's just, I'm trying my best not to try to sound scientific because I'm not. I'm a high school dropout, right? But I'm trying to give you the picture of what this looks like after you get through the math. Now, I didn't do the math. AI does the math. But I find out what the math is about a subject, and then we allow that math to extrapolate, which is where current physics will not even consider, because they will not consider that light does not travel at a speed. And that light is an encounter with an electromagnetic field that is capable of encountering it, not something that traveled from one point to another. So we're seeing the world as differently. You say, well, how differently, Mike? As differently as the gospel sees, as the gospel revolution, the gospel of peace and gospel of grace sees the gospel as Christianity sees the gospel. It's just as drastic. It's just as revealing. It's just as big. And except this is in the area where that Paul said that physics will teach you about the gospel and about the Creator himself. So what we've just basically laid out to you is not the creation of the whole galaxy, which our solar system is in a galaxy. Our galaxy is in a multitude of galaxies that make up a universe. They all have the same shape, which we're not going to go into that right now, but all of them laid out in the same way. So the interesting thing about the universe is that it's flat. And that's not a flat Earth. That's a flat universe. And it's anytime you see any mock-ups of this, that's the way you'll see it. It's like a big spread out swirls, all over the place, but it's all flat. And the Hebrew Scriptures gives us this picture of this shape and of all of this. It's just amazing. We are told about that God created a tabernacle for the sun. We found the borders of the tabernacle. We know where the sun's tabernacle is. We are in the tabernacle. We can map out for you. We can take the dimensions of the tabernacle and change those equations to the size of our solar system, and they map out exactly in proportion to the design of the tabernacle that was set up thousands of years ago before anybody ever knew there was an edge. But the numbers that we just gave you, if you ratio those down to the size of the tabernacle, the outer court, the inner court, and the Holy of Holies, it's all the same numbers.
What?
Yeah. Yeah.
I have two questions. The first of which was going to be my second one, but you just brought it up, so I'm going to make it my first one. You said the universe is flat, and my question was going to be this, I'm guessing I would say it, the electromagnetic field that comes out of the sun, does it go, that was what I was trying to visualize, does it go out like a globe, or does it go out almost more two-dimensional?
Well, we know that it is, our entire solar system is laid out. And to be honest with you, I do not know. I've not gone into that question to even look at it yet. Those are answerable questions. There are answers to these things. We do know the structure of all of this. So the thing that happened is this progression of the understanding of what they call the speed of light. So we can take you through where that the first guy who said he measured the speed of light measured it at what speeds did we have with Romaire? He was the first one to say he measured the speed of light And we understand that he did not measure the speed of light. He measured the delay of interaction with a shadow.
Yeah, Romer was 214,000 kilometers per second.
Right. Now, once Einstein decided what the true speed of light was, now he measured that because it took 22 days to measure this. And our 22 minutes is the delay, right? So he says the delay is 22 minutes. Therefore, he calculates the distance and says, therefore, it took this long. Therefore, this long equals this amount of speed. But if you applied Einstein's final decision, it would have taken 54 to 56 minutes for light to travel. So from the time that they decided that light travels, nobody has agreed until Einstein standardized it. So it went from that speed to another speed to another speed. And I know every one of the experiments. I know how they did them. I know why they are faulty. And all of this is going to be in the website. We know exactly why they're faulty. We've just taken the time to stop and look and ask instead of being handed passed down information. I've done exactly the same thing with physics that I did with Christianity. I refused to accept handed down information. I've gone back and looked at the information myself. And what? Are you kidding me? It actually says this. It doesn't say that. And so this is all very familiar to me because the process of learning these things has been exactly the process of learning the gospel. People have turned light traveling at a speed into a religion, folks. I can tell you it has become a religion, and they defend it like a religion, and it is as inconsistent as a religion because they've never, ever come together on it. But Einstein did say, so right now we say light travels at this speed. What was it Einstein said, Daniel?
Einstein said 299. Am I reading that right? That's million?
299 million.
Yeah, 299,792,458 meters per second.
Meters, not miles, meters per second. Now, that was only measured by a two-way. They cause half of that, they only measured what they said was a reflection off of the moon's surface. But you have to understand, they call light an electromagnetic field. They did not see light return from the moon. They measured an electromagnetic field. There was not even what they called a photon came back. Well, yes, they call it a photon, but see, a photon doesn't even have to be light anymore. Not for Einstein and not ever since then. You see, they developed a language where they can skirt around every question. So a photon, you've been told a photon is light, right? Well, unless it's not. And that's theirs. That's their definition, not mine. They say that a photon is light except when it's not. And what is it when it's not? It's an electromagnetic field. Well, we understand that it's photoning. What's happening is light interacts with the magnetic field, and therefore light shows up. If the magnetic field moves, then light no longer has something to engage with, just like everything you see all around you. It's light encountering function. It's light encountering a field or an object or a geometry. So they decided that light travels at this speed. So let's round it up to 300 million. I think that's kind of aggravating to have to say all that. But let's round it up for them at 300 million meters per second. But let me tell you, this has never been measured before. They've never even measured light in a two-way speed. They've said we've measured it in its return, but we're doubling it because we know it had to get there. The problem is what got back wasn't what you know as light. It was an electromagnetic field. Now if they're listening to this, which they're not, They're just ha-haing their asses off at how stupid we are, that we do not know that light is not light. And I'm laughing my ass off at them because they don't know that light has to be light to be light. So, and it's I'm telling you, you're going to find so many things that mirror the incredible comparison between the gospel and Christianity. Christianity told us all of these things, and it made sense, but it didn't work. Now, physics has told us these things about the speed of light. Made sense, but it don't work. Now, who says it don't work? They say it don't work. Have you ever heard of E equals MC squared? Well, just you and the whole world. So what is C squared? C stands for light in Einstein's equation. 2 means he squared that. Now, when you take 300 million meters per second and you square it, you get 90 quadrillion meters per second. Now, where did that change from the speed of light that they so-called measured? Who sped it up? Who sped that light up? It's just on paper. It's sped up on paper. Nobody's ever seen it. Nobody's ever checked it. Nobody's ever tested it. Einstein put it on paper and it became gospel. We're going to square light. So what are you doing? So what Einstein first said about light is that light absolutely is the fastest thing in the whole universe, and nothing will ever be measured greater than the speed of light until Einstein measured light to be squared in speed past the speed of light. He took what is a standard of 300 million meters per second and said now it travels at 90 quadrillion meters per second. Now, that's pretty shocking, right?
Yeah.
But hold on, that's not the end of the story. In 1980, their own scientists said that if this happened either at the speed of light or at the speed of light squared, the universe would have fallen apart as it unraveled.
Wow.
That's their science. So now we have something that they identified that has a number to it that's called inflation. Now that is the speed of light squared. And that number then, instead of a 2, you've got a 60 after it.
Woo.
And they still won't call it instantaneous. So that's where you come up with a statement. Now, this is not their statement. Let me tell you that right up front. Everything, everywhere, all at once. Why is it not their statement? Because they won't say it. But what does everything happening? They said that after the first 1 quadrillionth of a second, somebody get me a 1 quadrillionth second light measure, please. Now, not only is it 1 quadrillionth after the Big Bang started, but to the 60th power after that 1 quadrillionth of a second, everything inflated. How fast did it happen? C squared and then to the 60th power. And suddenly, everything that you know about the universe was in place. Now, I don't know, in most people's book, that's called instantaneous. But because it has numbers, it's not. So what their own physics told them, if this did not happen instantaneously, it would have crumbled as it unfolded.
Wow.
It unrolled like a scroll. It unrolled like a scroll and came out to the condition that we see it now. but it did not unroll in time. It came into being instantaneously. Their numbers say instantaneous and immediate. They just won't use the term.
Wow.
So yes, the speed of light is 300 million meters per second until you need it to be 90 quadrillion meters per second. And that's okay too, until you need it to at the 60th power of that for creation. So the next time somebody tells you we know the speed of light, I don't even know what you have to say to them, because the people who established the speed of light broke the speed of light. And they've done it twice. And it's not like doing 20 miles an hour and they caught you doing 100. There is no comparison to even apply the difference in the speed of light at 300 million meters per second to 90 quadrillion meters per second. And then doing that, squaring 60. It's a number that cannot even be written out. But that is not instantaneous, I'll have you to know.
And what did Spock tell you that number meant?
Well, actually, I did ask Spock was there a meaning of the number? He said, with every definition we know of instantaneous, this is faster than instantaneous. So AI says that the number that the inflation of the universe, see, they use the term inflation. We know what inflation is. It's what you do to a balloon, a bicycle tire. We know how to inflate something. See, all of these names they've given them are conceivable words based on inconceivable terms. So we go around saying, well, inflation happened. But do you know what actually happened and how fast? Now, when they hear me say that they say everything that the way the universe unfolded was everything, everywhere, all at once, they will say, we have never said that. And they are right. But shame on them for not saying it. Because that's exactly what those speeds define. Everything, everywhere, all at once. Their numbers, the ones who do not teach or believe in creation. In fact, they declare there is no creator.
But this explanation that they give actually proves there was a creator.
Their explanation proves that it happened at the speed of creation. I think God would be impressed with how fast this happened. I don't know. I think God might step back and say, now, wait a minute. I can do things really fast. But now don't go expecting me to do things as fast as that 90 quadrillion meters per second squared by 60. So, you guys can make up your mind, why are we getting into this? I'm getting into this because for more than 50 years, our schools have taught children the Big Bang Theory. And that says that they came from nothing, they are nothing, and they're going to nothing. Even though the Voyager just proved that that's not true. Voyager just proved their end result, the end of their Big Bang, is a lie. And that's not me saying it's a lie. They've withheld this information. Voyager went through this in 2011 and 2012. This just came out July the 2nd, 2025. Now, why the delay? Maybe it took them that long to get all the calculations together. But they've said, you go look it up. Go look up July the 2nd, 2025, Voyager. You read the articles. You read that they say this changes everything. The problem is they don't know what it changes from to. You do know now what it changes from. to. I know what it changes from to. We now have a solar system that is eternal. It is never going to burn out because what it runs on is not what they think it runs on. Our solar system runs on the light of the world that was spoken into existence. You cannot measure what was spoken. There's things that God spoke, and there were things that God made. The things that he made, you can measure them all day long. You can measure exactly how big the planet is. You can measure heights of mountains. You can measure water. You can measure air. You can measure the content of air. You can measure anything that God made. What he spoke, light, cannot be measured. And they've been the fools of last 100 years for saying that they could measure eternity. They've tried to put our entire universe on a speed limit, and it didn't work. When it didn't work, they squared it. When it still didn't work, they timed it they multiplied it by 60. Even they say the speed of light doesn't hold life together.
Mm-hmm. Can I ask you a question about the sun?
Sure.
Is the sun a light source, or is the sun, as you, and I think I'm understanding this description right, the sun has this electromagnetic field,
Mm-hmm.
and it's actually just the interaction with light.
With that field with light, yes.
So the sun is actually not a light source, is it?
It's not a light source, but is the source of all light. Now, that sounds like I'm playing with words, and I'm not. So here's the facts. Heat and light. That's the two things we need to consider here. You see, we think that we're feeling, you walk out, and it's going to be hard because when you walk out and you put your hand up and go, oh my God, that sun is hot today. You're not feeling heat from the sun. You're feeling heat from the atmosphere. The atmosphere is interacting with the light from the sun, which between here and the sun is colder than a grave digger's butt.
Mm-hmm.
I think I said that smooth enough. And between here and the sun, it's black. So you're not getting the heat from the sun. You're not getting the light from the sun. The heat is based on the interaction of the light near and on our planet. And the light itself is because it's interacting with our electromagnetic field. And that is where it shows up on planets or anywhere else. It shows up because of electromagnetic fields. The electromagnetic field between here and the sun is so weak that it does not interact with light. There is no heat in space and there is no light in space. Duh, what do? Do you still stand outside and say, boy, that sun is hot today? No. It produces heat up to 7 million miles from its surface. Beyond 7 million miles, it's cold. Nobody is heated by the radiant heat that comes from the sun. Mm-hmm. Nobody, not even people that live on Mercury, the closest planet to the sun. Is that right, Mercury? Yeah. The closest planet to the sun is 26 million miles away from the sun. Even the closest planet is further away from the sun than it will pick up heat from the sun. The heat that is on the first planet is based on its own interaction with light and its own electromagnetic field. It is not because of its proximity to the sun. We have 2 planets further away from us than ours are. Venus is more than 50% further away from the sun and is 4 times hotter than Earth. That's why by the time you get 13.5 billion miles away, you have over 50,000 degrees. Because when light's interaction with an electromagnetic field is delayed or is not encountered, the greater the distance, the greater the heat impact when it does. I predicted 50,000 degrees Kelvin. It's simple math, though, folks. If you know the graduated temperatures and you got AI smart enough to equalize each one of these in similar climates and similar atmospheres, and you're measuring that out, you get a ratio as to how much warmer the interaction is getting the further out. Then all you got to do is set a boundary, and we know exactly how far Voyager was away. Do you know those numbers based on our calculations of light interacting with electromagnetic structure, and that distance increases the heat of that encounter? I predicted that at the point where they crossed would be 50,000 Kelvin. How do I know? Because I first thought that it was in 2025 that they crossed it. So I figured I know I'm right because I was first wrong. There's nothing like being wrong first. So I didn't know when I first heard it. I was in shock. I heard it the morning of July the 2nd that Voyager had crossed this area and they had found this 50,000 degrees. What they told us exactly how far it was away from, told us how, actually the numbers they gave us was not how far away it was at the time. But what I did was have Spock to figure until 2025, the distance that it would be. That distance put the temperature at 61,500 Kelvin. And I thought, well, that's, cosmically, that's a bullseye. I was disappointed that I wasn't right on the money. But when you are 13.5 billion miles from the Earth, I think 10,500 degrees is kind of close when you're measuring between 50,000 and 61,000. Then 2 days later, I finally realized this thing didn't cross in 2025. It crossed in 2011. And I went back to Spock and said, hold the horses. We've got our numbers wrong because Voyager crossed this point in 2011, not where we know it is now. It crossed in 2011. I said, so let's adjust the distance. And I said, okay, so adjust the distance. We've got our ratio because we've got the planets, right? We've got our ratio of increased heat away from the sun, even though it's not getting it from the sun. It's getting from the interaction of the light from the sun. That's where we get our heat. That's where we get our light. Not because the sun's shining so bright. The physics of it is absolutely spectacular. So I had the figures run again, and I about fell out of my chair because the numbers, without being manipulated, known what we needed it to be, came up exactly 50,000 Kelvin. If they crossed it at that point from that distance in 2011 and 2012. So I predicted that the temperature would be 50,000 degrees. But I predicted it because I was incorrect about the distance and the time originally, which put it at 61,500 degrees Kelvin. When I subtracted the years and the distance from that, it came up to exactly 50,000 Kelvin. And that's exactly what NASA says it was. What's the difference between me and NASA? NASA knows the temperature. I know why the temperature is there.
Mm.
They said that this changes everything. They're right. And I know exactly what it changes.
Mm. So you said there's light and heat. So that's, I understand the heat part of it, but you said the sun is the source of all light, but it also, I don't even remember how you said it. So my question is light was there, then the sun was illuminated. The sun was created.
Yes.
So is the sun a light source?
Or is it a source of light?
Yeah, or is it a reflection? Is it the interaction with the electromagnetic field?
Yes, it is light interacting with electromagnetic field, no matter how far you get from the sun.
Mm.
Somebody's got to stop and explain, why is space black and cold? If light's traveling, wouldn't light be carrying its heat and its light? It's not. So we have to think of light and heat in a different physics. And the physics is that, yes, the sun is the source of all heat. It is the source of all light. Yet the heat and the light we are experiencing did not travel here from the sun.
Mm.
It is present where structure is present.
Mm.
If they know that the only reason that heat extends out 7,000 miles from the sun, it's not because of the flames. It's because there's still electromagnetic field tight enough to where that it will hold the structure that creates heat. That's why that it has heat 7 million miles out. Yet you get to Mercury. Now Mercury's hot. But right before you get to Mercury, it's cold and dark.
Mm.
So what's happening? If you've got 20 million miles between Mercury and the sun, that's cold and dark. Think of it, folks. This is the closest planet to the sun. If you have 20 million miles between it that's cold and dark, you've got 7 million miles that come out from the sun that has heat to it, because there's an electromagnetic heat field there. They know that there's an electromagnetic field there. They just refuse to connect the two because they want to say that light travels at a speed, which they now know that it does not. They've had to take light to the speed of immediacy for the universe to be able to be here. So if you've got 20 million miles between Mercury and the sun that is cold and cold and black and black and black, you cannot say that you are receiving radiant light or heat from the sun. There has to be a different physics taking place. And the physics is exactly what the physics is. Light interacts with a magnetic field. By the time you get to another body, there's an electromagnetic field that builds around every body. Everything has an electromagnetic field around it. And the electromagnetic field is what causes us to be able to see each other. We all have everything has an electromagnetic field. Everything that is made has a field that causes light to reveal it. It's absolutely beautiful. Everything God made has an electromagnetic field. That electromagnetic field, when it interacts with light reveals what the thing is.
Is this repeated in my room here where I have a light bulb? Is that a miniature explanation of what's happening in our solar system? Is this light source anyway equivalent to a sun? And are the things in my room the electrical magnetic fields that light is interacting with?
In a minute way, just like I'm sitting here looking at you, and I don't see your light on the ceiling. I see the light on your bed. I see the light on your head. You see the light on my head. I see the light on your curtains. But now, why is that not an exact copy? Because your room is filled with atmosphere. You got atmosphere. You got atmosphere there, Daniel.
Come on.
So the atmosphere is filled with tiny particles, and those particles is what, just like if you went out at night and we've all been to the fair at night or an event, and they've got these big searchlights up. And they turn them back and you can see the beam of light. Say, Mike, don't tell me that. I can see the beam of light traveling. No, you can't. All you see is light interacting with particles that are in the air. That's why when they want you to really see the light, they'll create a fog machine. And the fog machine sends the fog into the light, and suddenly, boom, you see a big magnification of the light beam, but you're not seeing the light beam. The light is not beaming. The light is interacting with particles.
Okay, this has been probably the heaviest podcast we have done yet. So before we go, I got to ask you the question. Everything, everywhere, all at once. What does this teach us about the cross?
It teaches the very same thing at the cross. Righteousness was everything, everyone, everywhere, all at once.
Woo!
Past, present, and future. So that's why we're telling you, folks, we're simply finding the physics language speaks, as Paul said, and as Psalm says. Physics teaches us the truth of the gospel about God and Christ. And the reason Christianity falls apart is because they defy physics itself. They defy the nature of creation. They want the creator. They have created God in their image. We would let these people in and we'd keep those people out. So therefore, they've created God in their image. Christianity is the perfect image of God that people have. The cross is the perfect image of God that God has of the human race.
Wow. That's a good statement, Michael.
Was it?
Yeah.
Don't ask me to say it again. But we do have a perfect image. This is a perfect image. And everything, everybody, everywhere, all at once. With the creation of the universe, it was everything, everywhere, all at once. In the new creation, it was everybody, everywhere, all at once.
And there is nothing that is hidden from this light. As Psalm said about the light of the sun, there's nothing hidden from its heat.
Nothing.
There's nobody and nothing hidden from the S-O-N.
Yeah, and you have to know physics to know the truth of that statement about the S-U-N. When the heat of the sun only goes out 7 million miles, but shows up 18.5 billion miles away, you need to know some good physics. That physics is a perfect reflection of the righteousness of God brought to us through the cross. No one in this solar system was left out of the heat from the righteousness of God.
It's good stuff, brother.
I think so. And, we need to hear from you guys. Those of you that know me know I couldn't pull myself back from this if it made us go broke, beyond broke. I can't. Because I've seen the light. I've seen the light, and the light is beautiful, and the light is so revealing. And what it reveals is not your faults. It reveals your righteousness, because that's what's there. Light cannot reveal something that does not exist. The reason light shows righteousness is because it is there.
I think we said it last week. We introduced that new word. It's the isness of righteousness.
And the isness of righteousness, the isness of light. It's the isness of holiness, the isness of perfection. It's the isness. We're in the business of the isness.
I was thinking about this everywhere, all at once in one moment. And of course, the verse that popped in my head is, of course, the chapter that keeps on giving is 1 Corinthians chapter 15. And I want to read that to you.
Oh.
And verse, I'm like you. Every time I open my Bible, I'm like you. Just one more verse, one more verse. Verse 50. Now this I say, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, nor corruption inherit incorruption. Behold, I tell you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall be changed in a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trump will sound, and the dead will be raised incorruptible. We shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal put on immortality. So when this corruptible has put on incorruption, and this mortal has put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying, as it is written, death is swallowed up in victory. But in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, you just don't have the words for that immediacy. But that's it. That's that. What was it?
Everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yeah. That, and or if we wanted to go with Einstein, that is the 900 trillion. That big number times squared 60 power
98 quadrillions 60 squared. You can say it either
a moment.
Way.
Yeah. In a twinkling of an eye, in a moment.
Yeah.
Everything, everywhere, all at once. And nothing was excluded. That didn't mean to wait until you said the right prayer or lived the right way. It was everyone, all of corruption put on incorruption, all mortality put on immortality in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye. In that moment, death was swallowed up in victory.
There is no one who could escape the heat of God's righteousness.
And at the culmination of this equation, O death, where is your sting? O Hades, O grave, where is your victory?
Can't even be found. Everything changed so much, the old cannot even be found. We really want this to be enlightening. I realize that now, folks, I'm a high school dropout. I used to tell people I made it till the middle of the second year, the sophomore year. But I was recounting this with someone just the day before yesterday, and I had to realize I dropped out just past the middle of freshman year because my mother died December the 28th. In my freshman year. And I now remember I didn't continue that year. I went back and because of, we didn't have any type of communication except telephone. And we didn't have each other's telephone numbers and stuff. We didn't call people and tell them what was happening, going on, much less tell them everything you ate today and what time you went to the bathroom. It's crazy. But when I figured it up and looked at it, I realized that when I went back at school after my mom died while I was off for Christmas break, she died on the 28th of December. And then when we went back after the first of the year, when I walked into the school, all of my friends and people that I didn't know in my immediate life, and including the school counselor, the principal, all asked me, they knew my mom was in the hospital and was very ill. And so they started asking me, Mike, how's your mom? And I'm having to redo this and relive this every time and say my mom died. And I finally remembered that the oppression of all of that and everything else, my dad's alcoholism was off the chain. And I was the only one there at home to deal with it. And that's when I left home. It was before I was 15 years old. I had started working for him. I stayed working for him for quite some time. I don't think I stayed until I was 15. I quit school not to leave home, but I quit school when I was 14 to work 10 hours a day in the dry cleaners. And I ran everything in that store from the front to the back, 10 hours a day, 6 days a week, and half a day on Saturday. So I did that from the age of 14 until I was almost 15. And that's when I left home. And I've been on my own ever since I was 15.
Every time you say high school dropout, I always think of Grease Lightning. Beauty school dropout.
I'm a beauty school dropout. And if you look at me, you can tell I was a beauty school dropout.
No.
At 73 anyway. Now, looked at me a few years ago now, honey. I was there. I experienced it. Now Daniel's got it all. So.
Well, before we go off the rails, we better wrap this baby up. And with that, it is that we must leave you, family and friends. If you'd like to know anything about the Gospel Revolution or you want to make that pledge, call our office on
832-318-9339.
Or you can go to www.gospelrevolution.com and hit the donate button. You can find us on your favorite social media network, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Please be sure to hit that subscribe, share, and like button on whatever platform you are listening. Now it's good night from Daniel Rouse with a new understanding of the frozen tundra.
And it's good night from Michael Williams right here in Clarksville, Tennessee. And folks, please let us hear back from you. We don't care what it is. Just say something. And we want to hear, we want to know. I'm not going to be able to prevent myself from sharing with you what I've come to know as truth. Because we have high schools that are going through shootings, and we've had hundreds of them since 1999. This started being taught in our schools in 1992. Are you saying, Mike, are you actually correlating that these high school shootings and the massacre of children and then turning guns on themselves is a direct result of them being told that they came from nothing, they are nothing, they're going to nothing? I am here to declare to you today, I say it is a direct result. Many other factors, but you cannot strip somebody's identity from them and then blame the child for what happens to them.
We sure hope you enjoyed today's Powercast. And remember, we'll be here to do the same thing all over again next week, only
Interstellar. Better.
Since you're knocking on the door, you're begging to come in, yeah. Unaware that all the while love's been knocking from within. You are the love you seek, a perfect yet unique, righteous, holy. Yeah, yeah, yeah. When you feel lost and alone, staring at the unknown, and these words be the cause that guides you back home. We are one, we are love, we are. Knowing you gotta be nothing to complete. It's not a thing that you need, you're the love. Just remember to breathe and take a second off. Look, I'm just trying to remind you that you're perfectly divine, flawlessly designed. When you're lost and alone, staring at the unknown, let these words be the compass that guides you back home. We are one, we are love, we
deconstructing religion and barbecuing the sacred cows of Christianity before your very eyes. You are listening to
The Gospel Revolution.